All right, let's see here. Let's make sure we're coming through loud and clear. What's up, everybody? It's good to see you all. And today we're going to be going through something that has been one of the most important pieces of my business since I've gotten started. And this is just about every business that I get into. This is just a huge thing, and it's something I try to focus on. If we can't do this, then it's really hard for us to maintain a business going forward. And a lot of people look at this thing that I'm about to tell you guys, you know, something that's really hard to do or that like is just tough and, you know, you don't want to do. But if you figure out the right way to do it, which I'm going to go through here in just a few minutes, if you figure out the right way to do what I'm about to tell you, then it becomes something that absolutely drives your business and it snowballs. And that's really the key with what we're going to go through today. It's how to become prolific and how becoming prolific can just make you absolutely rich beyond your wildest dreams. So one of the things that I am really good at, and I'm not good at much, but one of the things that I'm really good at is I am absolutely prolific in creating content on things that I'm interested in. So I am an avid reader, and I take a lot of the things that I read and I get good at them and I make them easier than usually how I learned them, and I turn them into content that other people can use to better their lives. So there's some interesting things about that. It's like one of the things that people have always said is, Atkins, how the hell do you create so much? And you create so much so fast, but still maintain a level of quality. Now, if they just said, how the hell do you create so much, that would not be much of a compliment at all. I would actually be very turned off by that, and I would be questioning my life. But one of the big things that people always say is, how do you do it at the quality that you do it? And I'm able to produce a lot of things. You know, education is one of the main things that I do. Education on how to market your business on the internet is my primary, but I have some secondary stuff too that this sort of fits. One of the big things that people always ask me is, how do you actually create so much and maintain the level of quality? Where do you get the ideas? All of these things. And I have always focused on being prolific. Okay, so like a lot of the people that I admired coming up, I always noticed they were extremely prolific with what they created. Like, so, you know, you go in and guys like Stephen King, right? So, you know, how many of you are like big Stephen King fans and you love what Stephen King does and you think it's just the greatest thing in the world? Even if you're not a Stephen King fan, you've got to like step back and be like, this guy writes a lot of stuff. And I'm talking about like big books a lot of times. He does some short stuff, but big books, he writes a lot and he makes a lot of money, and it's crazy. What you start to notice about guys like Stephen King is everything they release feeds their previous stuff. Because if you get into a Stephen King book and you read it and you're like, man, this is pretty good, I like this, I wonder if this author's got more stuff. And you start looking and there's like all this stuff. And you're like, oh, wow, I'm going to keep buying this stuff because this is really so just good. So what I want to show you is a couple other places that this model sort of works. And you'd be surprised when you start seeing what I'm going to walk you through that, you know, all these companies, they really just focus on being prolific, right? So they focus on being super prolific and putting out a lot of stuff. So let's go through this real quick, and you're going to see my screen here real quick. I want to show you this. So what you should be looking at right now is Amazon, and forgive me, but we are in the erotica section. So we are in Amazon bestsellers, we're in books, we are in literature and fiction, and we are in the erotica section. And this is what's really interesting about this. You put together one of these books, and this is what's funny is like if you're into this and you like buy this kind of book, then you're going to buy a lot of kinds of books in this genre, right? So here's what you start looking at. You start looking at these folks that are killing it. So if you were to just look down the list here, you would see a lot of these names get repeated. So you start seeing, you know, Alexa Riley here at the top. You see Alexa Riley here. And you start going down the list and you see, like, you'll see Madison Faye a couple times. There's Madison Faye and Madison Faye. What's funny about this is these folks aren't making a ton of money because, you know, they just wrote one book. That's not how it works. They're writing lots of books. So if you were to go in this and just check this out, we were to click into this book, and very cool. You know, hey, they put some work. This book is 152 pages. And what's funny is you can go to this about the author section. So you can use this about the author and you can look, and holy crap, there's 48 book results. And on average, this person's putting out 1 or 2 books a month. And you're probably sitting there and you're like, what? how in the heck are they putting out this many books a month? Like, seriously, what's going on that they're putting out this many books a month? And you're like, that's got to be really hard to write that much. But then you really get to thinking about it. You're like, no, this isn't hard to write this much. These people just have a system. So they have this system that they developed. Like the first book was probably really hard, right? The first book that they wrote, really hard. And I remember that when I first started putting out how-to manuals on doing stuff on the internet, the first few ones that I put out was like really hard. And it would take me like a month, 2 weeks to a month. But then every time that I would do one, because I got really focused on just putting out 1 or 2 a month, I was like, okay, so I'm focused on being prolific. Good content, but prolific, a lot of content. So I had these deadlines. And every time that I did one, I was like, oh, I don't have to do what I did the first time because I got a template for it. So I would create these templates and these systems, you know, in my head so I can create and create and create. And let me show you another example of this because I think you're going to absolutely love this. So let me transition back over to my screen. So we've got Amazon here, but let me show you over here. This is another big company that you probably know. It's Taco Bell. And whether you like Taco Bell food or not, you can get behind that they are a successful company. Now, check this out. There's literally like 6 ingredients that go into the food in Taco Bell, but let's scroll down the list. We've got tacos. Now, this is the taco section of Taco Bell's menu. We've got the Double Decker Taco. We've got the Double Decker Taco Supreme, the Doritos Cheesy Gordita Crunch. We've got, I mean, look, this is like the same ingredients over and over, just mixed and mashed a different way. So we got a chicken taco, a chicken soft taco. And like literally that's it. But then we get into the burrito section and holy crap, it's the same damn ingredients as we've got in the taco section, just packaged a little differently. So they've got more stuff, more options for you. This always gives them something new to talk about, or, you know, and it's not like they're having to put more stuff in their restaurant because it's the same damn 6 ingredients. So we got a quesadilla, same ingredients as above. We got all these specialties that are basically just, yeah, you guessed it, the same darn thing as before. They're just extremely prolific. So they're taking these things that they built and they're using these templates to just create and create and create and create. And it's very, very interesting, right? So it's like very, very interesting. Last thing, and I'll show you this one, and then we'll get back to sort of how to get there, right? So let's go over and let's look at this. This is Apple. And so Apple, you know, every few months they release a new iPhone. I mean, they are extremely prolific with this iPhone creation. So they release a new iPhone, they put it out there, and they got a new iPhone. Now that they've got this, you know, Apple TV, they've got a ton of stuff they can do. They've got this watch, they can rehash that and just keep coming out with new versions of that. You see this a lot, but you might not recognize what's going on when you see it. One of the keys here is with all of these folks and all of these companies is that they have focused. They have put an extreme focus on being prolific with their release. Now, here are some of the good things that happen when you focus on being prolific. When you focus on being prolific and you focus on putting a lot of good stuff out there, and that's your focus, not just putting one thing out, but putting more things out. And then the second you get done with one, you're on to the next and moving on. That may sound exhausting, but the cool thing is you hit a point to where it becomes almost automatic. And you can put these things out quickly. And every time you sell one thing, you end up being able to sell the previous things from before, as long as you're maintaining a good quality. Now, there's a lot of you out there that are probably kind of like, well, Ben, I hate to break it to you, man, but it's hard to create things. And it's hard. And of course, the first time you do this, it is hard to create this stuff. But what's funny is every time you create, you get a little better at creating. So every time I write a new how-to manual or put together a how-to course, I get a little better and I figure out little shortcuts and ways to do it. So what used to take me, heck, 2 to 6 weeks to put together now takes me 24 hours to put together because I've got all the templates done. But the thing is I could not have done that. It doesn't matter how many people I learned from, how many people taught me how to do this stuff, how to write certain things, how to do things. It doesn't matter unless I go do it. Okay, so unless I go out there, unless I actually create this stuff for myself, it doesn't matter. I have to actually go out there and do it. Okay, so once I do it, though, I start building up these things. So how do you become prolific? Number one, you do it. So right now, if I was just starting with this and I was wanting to get into maybe writing, the erotic novels, let's say. Now, that's you probably don't want to do that. But if I was wanting to get into writing the erotic novels and that was sort of my bag, what I would do is I would sit down and I would write my first one. That would suck, but I would build templates that first time. And I would say, you know what, as soon as I get done with this, I'm going to write my second one. My goal this month, my number one consuming purpose is to put out one. So I put out that first one. The second month, my all-consuming purpose is to put out two. So now I've got to budget my time. Now this is it. This is what I'm doing. I'm not focused on anything else but putting out two of these things and making them the best that I can make them. The next month, two. The next month, two. And I have dates on my calendar that I've got to hit. That's my deadline. Now, as I'm doing this, other things start to present themselves. Other people, you can give away sample chapters and you can put people on an email list and you have a customer list. You have people that will follow you. And when you put something out new, Amazon will let these people know. Like there's all these things that once you start becoming prolific with your creation and your releasing of this stuff, it gets easier because people start looking for you and they start telling your friends and they start doing the marketing for you. So becoming prolific can make you rich because every time you sell something new, because you've created something new, people will be like, man, I really like that. I wonder what else they've got. And they'll start looking back in your catalog and be like, oh, there's cool. I'm going to get all these things. Awesome. And then they'll be sitting in a dinner party and they'll be like, oh no, I love this Atkins guy because he's putting out this stuff and you should go check it out. And because you've got, just by the very nature of having a decent amount of stuff, a catalog that you've created over time, you're going to be making a whole lot more money and making a lot more people happy because they're consuming the things that you're creating. Now, the key is how is this going to help you this month? Well, maybe you put out one thing this month. All right, cool. Maybe you make a little money, maybe you don't. But as you start stacking, it's a snowball, and it gets easier and easier and easier. And I am the world's greatest example of this because this is how I built my business. So anyways, I'm going to jump out of here. I just wanted to do this real quick short and sort of walk you through one of the focuses that I have, which is always being prolific, not being all over the place. That doesn't make any sense. Not being all over the place, but being prolific. And that just means setting yourself up in a place to where you're going to create a couple of things a month and really give your audience or the people that are into a certain topic, even if they're not your audience yet, they're not in your tribe, really giving them something to consume so that when you start to catch hold, you've got things to go. So being prolific can absolutely make you rich. Find a topic, find something you're passionate about, create something around that. Create something for other people that are into that. Become a master, create something around it, and then create something else, and create something else. And it starts to stack. And I'm telling you, when you get to where I'm at 5 years in, it's amazing. It will blow your mind. But when you just get into 6 months of doing this, it will absolutely blow you away by what is happening in your life. So that's a big focus of my life. I hope it's something that you can take stock of and it helps you think a little differently. A lot of times we're so focused on the end result, we're not just focused on creating good stuff. And a lot of my early career online on the internet was just, hey, how much cool stuff can I create so that I start stacking the deck for myself and people have a ton of stuff that they can get in and just fall in love with me and my company and the things that we're putting out. So been here. Hope you're having a good day. And hopefully this is something that sort of opens up a part of your brain and you can think about creating and making money in a little bit of a different way. All right. I'll see you soon.